May the light of our chalice be a sacred fire, burning away evil and inviting in happiness and peace.
Good morning, everyone, on this beautiful Sunday morning. I'm Reverend Amy Petrie Shaw. My pronouns are they, them, theirs. And as always, I'm speaking to you now from land that is the traditional territory of the indigenous Iowa people. Barb Martin is our celebrant this morning and our song leader. Bruce Martin is our pianist. And Barb Glass is the pastoral care associate for the week. So if you need Barb, you need pastoral care, Barb Glass. Lyra Halston, our membership coordinator, is with us today. And if you'd like to be connected to our online groups or would like a little more information about First Unitarian, please contact her through the email address, which she is going to put in the chat. As always, please keep your mics muted during the service. You're welcome to have your camera on. When the service is over, we'll go into breakout rooms and we'll have a question for you to talk about this week. This week's question is going to be, what would you like to start again, or what would you like to change? So we'll have the question, Lyra will have the question for you at breakout rooms, but again, welcome.
And welcome to this Zoom service from the First Unitarian Church of Des Moines, where we are trying to grow ethically and spiritually, to serve justly, and to love radically. I'm Barbara Martin, she, her, hers, and whoever you are, wherever you've been, we hope that here you will find thoughts which challenge you, and welcome which invites you into community, and people to accompany you as you journey. Please join me in singing our gathering song.
Sausage.
Number 22 in the gray hymnal, and the words are in the chat box. So just keep muted and sing along. Our story for all ages today is by Tina Tripka, and it's about You'll See. A long time ago, there lived a demon king named Hiranakasha, who was very vain. He wanted to be the most powerful creature, and he prayed to Brahma, the creator of the universe, to make him immortal. Pleased with his prayers, Brahma gave him a gift. Hiranyakashipu could never be killed by man nor animal. He could not be killed indoors or out, neither above the ground nor in the sky, and neither in daylight nor in the dark. Well, the demon king was very pleased with the gift, as he would be impossible to kill with any of these conditions. With his gift, Hiranyakashipu began to see himself as the most powerful person in the universe, even more powerful than God. He struck fear in the hearts of everyone in his kingdom, and he insisted that they only worship him and no one else. Out of fear, everyone in the kingdom worshiped him, but there was one person who didn't, and that was Hiranyakashipu's own son, Prahlad. Imagine the evil king's fire when his own son worshipped Vishnu. He tried to convince his son to stop worshiping Vishnu, but Prahlad would not budge. In anger, the king decided that Prahlad would be killed. The people in the kingdom shook with fear. The king was sentencing his own son to death for not worshiping him. Well, what chance would they have with that? The king ordered his soldiers to push Prahlad off a cliff. But Vishnu saved Prahlad by making him land on a large stack of hay. The evil demon king then had Prahlad pushed into a well, but Vishnu made the water of the well rise up so that Prahlad just swam out and jumped onto land. Perplexed, the king ordered his son to be trampled by elephants. But the elephants saw the kindness in Prahlad's heart and refused to step on him. Hiranyakashipu even threw young Prahlad into a pit of serpents. But when Prahlad began to chant Vishnu's name, they did not attack him. They danced. Hiranyakashipu was exhausted from trying to kill his son. Nothing seemed to be working. Then he remembered something. His evil-hearted sister, Holika, had been granted a gift that she would never be harmed by fire. So Hiranyakashipu arranged for Holika to sit on a wooden pyre with Prahlad on her lap and ordered it to be set alight. The flames rushed up. Hiranyakashipu laughed as he believed that Prahlad would finally be killed. But Vishnu transferred Holika's gift to Prahlad, who emerged from the flames without a single burn, while Holika was reduced to ashes. Vishnu was enraged with Hiranyakashipu for trying to kill his devotee. Prahlad, okay? Many of the other gods were also troubled by him, by his evil ways, but were unable to do anything because the gift that he had received. Vishnu waited until it was dusk and emerged as half human, half animal. He dragged Hiranyakashipu up the stairs of the castle and killed him in the doorway, where it would be neither inside nor outside, neither on the ground or in the sky. And Vishnu had waited till dusk, so it was neither day nor night. He had satisfied all the conditions of the gift, and Hiranyakashipu had to die. The people in the kingdom rejoiced at the death of Harana. They were finally free from the fear that he had spread. Ever since that time, in order to mark the victory of good over evil, people in India light a bonfire, which is named Holi, after the evil Holika, who burned in the fire, the evil Holika. And the happiness that the people felt in being free from Hiranyakashipu, their fear, they celebrated the joy of colors. The festival of Holi also marks the start of spring and the farewell to winter. In many parts of the country, farmers celebrate the harvest in this festival. And of course, children all over the country enjoy the colors and water games.
We are going to have a spotlight now. Adrian, are you here? I thought I saw you earlier. Adrian Stamper is going to talk to us just for a minute about stewardship.
I am here. Can you hear me, Amy?
I can hear you.
Perfect. So I'm going to keep it short this week. We are on our 4th week of the canvas, our annual canvas, reaching out to all members of the church. We have sent out 314 pledge cards, and we've received back at this point just under 50% of those. If you are in the 50% that has returned your pledge card or has pledged online through the website and returned a pledge, your annual pledge, thank you very much. Again, if you are in that 50% who has returned your pledge, thank you. If you are in the 50% who hasn't gotten to it yet, or hasn't filed your taxes yet, or hasn't thought, oh goodness, it's time to get out there and rake up all those leaves in the garden and get ready for for the spring plants to pop through, I would remind you, we don't intend for this to be a year-long sort of commitment to reaching out and catching those pledges. We'd like to get those done, and we'd like to get those wrapped up for the sake of getting the budget in and moving on with the year. So we are trying to wrap up, and we are still waiting for some people. If you haven't received your pledge card in the mail, ironically, we got ours. They were all mailed back in February. We got ours earlier this week. Wonderful. Sometimes the mail is just a little bit behind. Don't let that slow you down. You don't need to get yours in the mail to return it. We've had over 20 or 30, if I can remember correctly, that have been returned through the website. It's a very simple process. So it's time. Let's finish this up as a group, and let's move on with the annual pledge and kind of get it buttoned up and so we can get our things onto the board. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Adrian. Our offering words this morning are done with my normal gravity. Bent over and obviously in pain, a man with a cane hobbled laboriously and slowly up the church steps and through the door. And the crossing guard on the corner watched him, and she just shook her head at how pitiful he looked. 10 minutes later, wouldn't you know it, the man came out walking upright with a spring in his step, moving with grace and speed. My gracious, the crossing guard called out, did the pastor heal you by faith? I saw you walk in, and look at you now. The man shook his head and said, oh no, we're Unitarians. She doesn't do faith healing. She just gave me a cane that wasn't 6 inches too short and a new pair of gym shoes. So that we can continue to help the world in our own simple ways. The morning offering will now be given and received through the link in the chat. And please remember, our electronic plate here is split 50-50. One half goes to support our internal social justice work, and one half goes to our Faith in Action partners, Planned Parenthood and Central Iowa Immigrant Support Coalition. Thank you, Bruce. Thank you all for these gifts given and received for the life and the work of this community. We've got another brief spotlight now, and I'd like to ask Elaine Imla to unmute.
Hey, Sue, thanks for submitting your Soapalicious event and loaf of homemade soap for the food fair. Can you hear me?
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
It was great fun doing that event, and it was a great way for me to support our church. Do you have lots of other events and auction items submitted?
Well, so far we have 12 in-person events. We recently added a picnic at Easter Lake, a Vietnamese dinner, and a Mardi Gras dinner. So we have one virtual event, a couple of people are willing to assist to host, and about 10 auction items.
That's great, but that doesn't seem like a whole lot yet.
I think that's for sure. 2 years ago, we had 48 events and 25 auction items and raised over $15,000.
Yeah, I know. The food fair is a great fundraiser and a major part of our budget for every year.
I'm hoping everyone is thinking about what they can offer and working on writing up their submissions. The deadline is only a week away.
When I submitted, it was a bit confusing figuring out how to submit online. Will that be fixed?
Yeah, we're going to fix that tomorrow. It's just a simple document. As long as we can get documents, people can open up. So get your events and auction items in for the fabulously fun food fair fundraiser and more by Monday, April 5th. The sale and auction will begin Sunday, April 18th at 4 o'clock with a Zoom event. You can find more details on the website, and I'll put the Google Doc in the chat, and you can submit your offerings. So see the links in the chat soon. Thanks.
Thank you all so much. So you heard them. Think about what you have to offer and join in the fun. Having fun together is part of what makes us a community. We're not just here on Sundays. We're not just here when we're in the building. We are a community. And we're a community of people who come together in joy and in sorrow and in laughter. We're here to bear witness and to minister to one another, no matter what's going on in our lives. We had a joy sent in this week. The Faith in Action Committee is seeking nominee organizations for the coming year, and that is an amazing thing that we do. If you know an organization that you believe would be a good fit for our community and you're willing to serve as their champion, now's the time to send it in. They've got a great chance. Applications are available on the website. And I will try to get that link posted in the chat. Lyra, if you could find that link for me and get it in the chat, that would be awesome. I thought I copied the whole thing, but I didn't. And the champion, there we go. The champion will be able to help the organization complete the application. They're due April 19th, and nominees will be introduced to the congregation in May. So if you have a group, now's the time. Please feel free to share now in the chat the name of anyone you know who could use some special care and attention this week. I want to hold up the victims of all the spates of Asian attacks across our US this past week and the week before. I want to hold up the victims of the latest shootings. May we find peace as a country. As we put names in the chat, may the love of this community hold them all. May the light of our community shine on all the places where our world is broken. May the work of our community be to support and comfort and aid all those who are marginalized and oppressed and at risk. May we never look away when we are needed, and we are always needed. May all those who are grieving be comforted, and may you be comforted. May all those who are tired find rest. May you find rest. May our world's broken places be healed. May you be healed. And may those who are filled with joy and laughter be abundant. Every week we light 3 candles, either virtually or physically. One of them is for any joy or sorrow that we've shared here today. And one is for any name that's been written in the chat. And the last one is for all those joys and all those sorrows which we hold deeply in our hearts, but which we haven't been able to speak here today.
Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul. Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul. Sing with me, sing with me, sing with me, oh my soul. Sing with me, sing with me, sing with me, oh my soul.
Thank you, Barb. Thank you, Bruce. Our first reading today is from Holi Festival, Spreading Cheers and Colors Around the World, and it's by Day Translations. A lot of us as Unitarians aren't as familiar with this holiday as we might be. Holi for the Hindus signifies the arrival of spring and therefore new beginnings. What people, tourists, and visitors to India and Nepal and in Hindu communities around the world see and hear are joy and merriment, fun, laughter, music, and a myriad of colors to celebrate the event. And just in case you have never ever seen Holi, I'm not playing this whole video, but I'm going to give you an idea of what the celebration looks like. The festival, as you can see, is a big deal. It's one of the most celebrated and revered events in India, where some people call it the Festival of Love because it's tradition to forget bad feelings and resentment toward other people. The first evening is called Choti Holi or Holika Dahan, and the next day is the time for Holi celebration. So rituals and bonfires to remove evil are performed during Holika Dahan with people sitting around bonfires. It celebrates the triumph of good over evil. Holi is believed by some to be a reenactment of the game Lord Krishna, a Hindu god, and Radha, his consort, played together with their milkmaids or gopis. Traditional local festivals surrounded by myths and legends are what is celebrated here. So why do we throw colored powders? There are 4 main colors. Blue is the color of Krishna. Yellow represents turmeric, which is used in religious ceremonies. Green is the symbol for new beginnings and spring, which typically represents the season when plants start to bloom. Red is for fertility and love. The colors have associations with Indian culture too. Green is auspicious color for married women. Blue and indigo used to be extensively produced in India. So everything means something. More colors are used today. Pink has become a dominant color during Holi. The color represents compassion and caring. Purple is also used, which represents mystery and magic. And the various colors are a reflection of India's diversity, its rich culture and traditions, which can be seen in art and architecture, jewelry and textiles and more. So when you join a celebration, you become one with everyone else. You will look like all the other people joining the celebration. The color of your skin does not matter because, like everyone else, you will be covered in various colors. Religion, social class, and economic status are forgotten during Holi. Our meditation this morning is a short poem called Holika Dahan by an anonymous writer, and this is translated. Year after year, purity of fire is challenged by evil. Appeased with offerings, a full moon looks on as winds stoke embers, flare flames for a flickering dance. Right in the center of crimson blaze sits Holika. Prahlad in her lap, her arms a circle of heat. White sparks fly from her hair. Eyes smolder in fury. Her mouth sucks in air, engulfs rice and wheat. Wood chairs and coconuts splinter. Flowers singe, smearing earth with ash. Year after year, faith survives. Please join me in a silent minute of meditation or prayer.
Our second reading is entitled Holi, Gender Dynamics and the Festival of Colors in Northern India by Siddhi Bhandari. Now, the manner in which the festival is observed varies from region to region, but whatever its beginnings, the celebrations of Holi have by and large come to have clear sexual intonations with men at the forefront. The festival has become associated with drunkenness, street harassments, and sleaze in northern parts of India in particular. There are police advisories against drunken driving and harassment in light of the high number of arrests that have been made on the particular day in the past. Yet in the midst of such countrywide issues, the celebrations of Holi in one region stood out in stark contrast. While gender norms in India are highly tilted in favor of males, the experience of Holi celebrations in a village of Kumaon put the women at the forefront. The facet of the Holi is often overlooked in scholarship and media. How in certain parts of the country, this assumed androcentric practice is turned on its head. In the Indian context, a village does not merely denote a small cluster of houses in rural surroundings with a small population. Sociologists have studied the Indian villages and noted them to often be a community of people mutually dependent on each other in a predominantly agrarian setup and surrounded by poor amenities, may be roads or schools, markets, hospitals, and so on. In this village, most of the households are connected to each other by way of kinship networks or belonging to the same extended clan. Now, Holi is also a celebration of the interconnectedness of this world and the other world. Though the sacred is invoked, the religious dimensions of this festival is near invisible. People with different religions, beliefs, partake in it, if not the festivities, well then at least in the savories which are offered by friends and neighbors. Here in Kumaon, Holi has become more of a musical festival that lasts for the whole spring, with women, young and old, taking the lead. The women have paved the way to make this festival equally participatory for them, often taking over conventional spaces like the village temples or the verandas of their own homes. They are often lively and social, meeting and greeting each other by exchanging side hugs, which are called Holi Milan, followed or preceded by the exchange and application of colors. The local culture and tradition has enabled this change, as the women are seen to be equally or more participative in domestic as well as external chores. It's not only during these festivities that women are able to come out of the home and feel empowered, nor do I believe that the women see it as empowerment either. In fact, this is just as much a normal part of life to them as the sexual overt celebrations of Holi in other parts of India. While these women have been able to accomplish, can or should be admired, it is important to not read a message of defiance into this practice. Women-centered Holi celebrations have over time come to be part of tradition in this particular village, not resistance. So much so that these village women did not see themselves or this as an aberration from what the norm in the country is. They thought that every village celebrated Holi like they do. Interestingly, newcomers in the village were often shy about taking part in the festivities and had to be coerced by the older women who had been in the village longer to become comfortable enough to freely participate and celebrate in this manner. The seeming empowerment of women in the region, however, is not altogether a sign of progressive attitudes or changing times. It must be noted that their involvement in the day-to-day or economic activities is often a necessity rather than a privilege. The women find themselves in situations where to feed and provide for the family, they cannot rely on men. They have to be more involved and take the lead. They work in the fields, they take up employment in the electrical factory, all the while performing their daily domestic duties. Yet while the Holi festival continues, these women are able to find time to celebrate with one another with dancing, eating, music, and application of colors, and even a relaxing catch-up. The women carry on the festival until they are visibly exhausted. The final day of the festival is celebrated outdoors with snacks that are bought from pooled money shared between everyone present, until just after noon, when the women return to their respective homes. Now we are going to sing 301, Touch the Earth, Reach the Sky, all 5 verses, and they are in your chat box or in your gray hymnal. And that's number 301. Touch the earth, reach the sky, walk on shores while spirits fly, over the ocean, over the land, our faithful quest to understand. Touch the earth, reach the sky, children ask reasons why. In our lives the answers show, and by our love they learn and grow. Touch the earth, reach the sky, all are born and all shall die. Life's the time left in between, to follow a star, to build a dream. Touch the earth, reach the sky, hug the laughter, feel the cry. May we see where we can live, for this is what it means to live. Touch the earth, reach the sky, soar with courage ever high. Spirits joining as they fly, to touch the earth, to reach the sky.
There are a couple of images I want you thinking about as we start to talk about Holi here. The first one of these 2 images is from The Wizard of Oz. And I want to let you look at it just for a minute here. This minute right here. Dorothy and her dog Toto have been spun around in a farmhouse in a tornado, and they landed. The film, as you saw, was in sepia, black and white. They land and she opens the door into a Technicolor world, and the colors are so bright that they almost glow. As some of you know and some of you remember, this was the first color film that most people had ever seen. And when you're confronted suddenly with that much color, all the colors of a beautiful spring field full of flowers and birds, it can be a moment of deep joy. It feels alive and vibrant. It's the feeling of the earth waking up after the cold whites and blue grays of winter. You can almost smell the flowers in the air. And the second image I want you to think about is from 9/11, 2001. An AP stringer named Gulnara Samalova shot this image. And the image is a group of people walking through the ash. They are all utterly coated. They are all alike. No one's clothing is more impressive. No one has on better makeup or shoes. Everyone's hair is matted and grayed. Just for a moment, even actual skin color vanishes under the gray and browns that have been painted on. Just for a brief moment, everyone is alike. And for me, these two images capture a part of Holi's message that resonates with us who are not as culturally encased in this holiday. The pure joy of the blazing colors is the victory of life over death and love over hate, good over evil, feast over famine. Some areas believe that the combinations of all the different colors take sorrow away and actually make your life more colorful going forward. It reminds us that what's been broken can be fixed again, like a withered plant regrowing and bursting into color in the spring. This is not a subtle holiday. It is supposed to hit you full force. The messiness and the coating, on the other hand, are the great leveler. As you've seen in the other video, everybody gets it. Everybody is soaked and messy. Wikipedia mentioned that in addition to the thrown colored powders, water guns and water-filled balloons are used to play and color each other, and everyone, absolutely everyone, is fair game. If you are out there walking, riding, running, swimming, whatever, you are going to get coated with powder. People visit family, friends, and foes come together to throw colored powder on each other, to laugh and gossip, and then share snacks. In Mughal, India, Holi was celebrated with such exuberance that people of all castes could throw colors on the emperor. They really mean it when they say everyone is equal. Because we are all in this messy process of life together. We're all here for the good and for the bad, and no one escapes being the person at some point that has the smudge on their nose, or their hair sticking up, or their zipper down. No one comes into this life without a messy act of creation, and no one gets out of it alive. So why not celebrate together? Now, Holi is mainly a Hindu holiday, but it's celebrated in other parts of Asia and anywhere in the Western world with a large number of people from the Indian diaspora. And the events are open to anyone present. Sikhs, Jains, and some Buddhists also celebrate this holiday. This is not particularly a holiday where the fear of colonization or cultural theft applies, because if you are there, you are going to get doused. You are welcome to participate. And as for the holiday itself, it's more like 5 holidays bundled together in a trench coat. No two places celebrate it exactly the same, and no two are doing it for the exact same reasons. Some use the traditional Vishnu story that Barb told earlier this morning. Some celebrate it as a love story of Radha and Krishna. Some believe it marks the time the goddess Parvati wanted to bring Shiva back to the world with the help of the love god. For some, it's just the beginning of spring. For a few, it's a 3-day festival of martial arts up in Nepal. Humans need to rejoice after the winter. And Holi is the holiday that does that. It wears 1,000 faces. When Dorothy and her dog Toto step into that Technicolor world, they step through the threshold of the house. They're entering into a world open to all kinds of new possibilities. Holi is about those possibilities. Now, Baptist theologian Nancy Petty writes, and this was a piece called Liminal Space, the Threshold of Hope. Liminal is not a familiar word to most of us. It comes from a Latin word, limen, meaning threshold, and it's the place where between two different spaces, it's most often characterized by ambiguity as well as openness. It's also characterized as a period of transition between where normal limits in thought and self-understanding and behavior are relaxed, and the mind becomes open to new perspectives and new possibilities. Some people talk about twilight as being liminal time between day and night, the middle ground between light and shadow. In science, there's an actual zone observable from space in the place where daylight or its shadow advances or retreats about the earth, and we've come to know this as the twilight zone for real. Noon and more often midnight are also liminal times, times that transition between morning and afternoon, from one day to the next. Liminal space is that in-between time when someone wakes from a dream sleep and isn't sure for a minute if something is real or not. You've all experienced liminal space. When you go to a place that is familiar to you, but somehow different in that moment. So an empty hospital corridor, a Walmart parking lot at midnight when no one is there. If you go into our own church at 3 a.m. and it is dark and empty, that is a liminal space. A space that is familiar yet approachable in a new way. A space between the now and the not yet, a doorway. Nancy Petty says, for those of you who've ever traveled to Iona, you have heard folks there talk about liminal space as a thin place between the ordinary and the sacred. She says, I've heard several of you talk about experiencing this thin place while standing among the ruins in Iona. But the truth is, we don't have to go to Iona to experience the thin place. All of us have moments when we know we are standing at a threshold, a thin place, and we are faced with the decision of whether or not to step across into the unknown and the unfamiliar and risk discovering what's on the other side or stay where we are. We're Dorothy, standing at that door at some point in our life, not knowing whether we want to hang back with the dust-covered reality we know or step forward into the Technicolor explosion. Holi is a holiday open to the possibilities of liminal space. It's about the moment where you step forward through the threshold and into this fantastical world. Are all of the possibilities good? Well, no, of course not. Of course not. As we heard in the second reading, Holi has its downside. It has its moments of getting carried away, of sexual assault. Holi has bad sides. So does every Technicolor reality. Dorothy can be killed by the Wicked Witch of the West. She can be put to sleep forever by the poppies. but the good is still there. The yellow brick road remains. The marvelous possibilities offered by vibrant life are there, even though there are the bad moments. In the children's story we heard this morning, Vishnu was enraged when the king tried to kill his devotee Prahlad. Many of the other gods were also upset, but there was nothing they could do because the king had been promised this gift that he could only be killed in certain ways. So Vishnu waited until liminal time, until dusk, neither light nor dark. And he emerged as a liminal creature, half animal, half human. He dragged the king up the stairs of the castle and killed him in the doorway, a liminal threshold. Neither inside nor outside, not on the ground or in the sky. And so the evil king was killed. Vishnu chose new possibilities, new answers. When no answer he had would work, he had hope. He looked for new ones. He woke up to new ideas. He stepped forward into Technicolor space. And you can too. What does Holi mean to us? It means we don't have to celebrate the actual holiday unless we want to. But you can still seize on the idea. Maybe you've been wanting to run a 5K, but you're afraid you look too silly and too sweaty. Do a Holi color run or a Halloween costume run where everyone looks ridiculous and people are having too much fun to care and you're just one more purple person. Have a problem? None of the easy answers work? Take a page from Vishnu's book. Look for the liminal answers, the ones that aren't this and aren't that and are something totally different. Holi tells us that we're good enough just as we are. It says you can start again. You can try again. You can fix the problem. You can end the fight. If that's what works for you. No matter how bad the mistakes you have made are, spring is still going to come. The colors are still going to be there. You can still choose to do something different starting right now. You can put it down, whatever the unbearable burden you've been handed and that you've come to hate. You can step through the door in your mind into new space. You can refuse to accept common answers. We are all just messy human people who are born and die, and we are built to experience vibrant life in between. Don't settle for being covered in gray dust. Step forward into Technicolor. You owe it to yourself. Happy Holi. Barb, you're muted.
We extinguish the light, and wherever it is, the chalice, and carry the brilliant colors of our lives into the waiting world as a swirling lamp of joy and hope. And now our final song is in the Teal Hymn Book, the very last number. And you'll see the words in the chat box, or if you are using the hymnal, we are skipping page 3 and 4 of the song, just so you'll be alert to that. We come from the fire, living in the fire, go back to the fire, turn the world around. We come from the water, living in the water, go back to the water, turn the world around. We come from the mountain, living on the mountain, go back to the mountain, turn the world around. Oh, this one, the river, river wash the mountain. Fire make the sunlight turn the world around. Heart is of the river, body is the mountain. Spirit is the sunlight, turn the world around. We are of the Spirit, truly of the Spirit. Only can the Spirit turn the world around. Whoa, so is life a body. Whoa, so is life. Whoa, so is life a body. Whoa, so is life. Whoa, so is life a body. Whoa, so is life. Whoa, so is life a body. Whoa, so is life.
Thank you so much, Barb. I love it. May Holly bring a rainbow of colors into the world to mix the separated and to bring joy. Peace, ashe, and may it be so.